All right, guys, we're here on episode 15. We have very special guest, Rob Morello, owner of Morello Law Firm. We're super proud of Rob. He sent us a great video as an audition to get on here.
Our first audition
Our first
ever.
and only audition. The answer was you could have just asked. We actually didn't need a video. You could have just came on or just asked to come on.
Well, not for nothing. I don't think you guys were picking up what I was laying down via text over the last few months. Where I kept saying, wow, is the podcast looking really great?
The
Boy,
audition
you
tape
guys are
got us.
awesome.
The audition tape got us. And hopefully we could splice it in. Yeah, everybody could take a look at this.
For sure. But more than that, Rob, dude, we're so proud of you, man, and seeing you as a girl dad, really embracing that girl dad role. You were a townie here in Howell just like I was, and you made the move down south to the rival town, Southern, which seems to be a great move for you. Awesome block that you guys are living on. I see the girls are taking bikes to school. So tell us a little bit about how being a dad has kind of shifted things up for you.
Sure. Hey, guys. It's I'm happy to be here. I'm pretty nervous. I didn't think I would be that nervous.
I'm actually surprised you're nervous. I've known you many years
This guy
and
doesn't
never
get
seen
nervous,
you
bro.
uncomfortable.
A little bit. So, I being a dad. So my experience has been a little bit different because I was blessed to have nothing but girls, and I think if we kept trying to have children, that would be just I would be over. I think for my career. I believe I earned that over the years. So here we are.
It's your penance.
That's right. That's right. Karma waited a really long time to bite. But it wasn't that difficult of a transition, you know, when you grow up the way that we grew up, which is with good present dads around us, fortunately, right?
Yeah.
Thankfully. Switching into dad mode was just, you know, you're trying. A, it's instinctual as long as you dive in, right? And B, you're constantly, like I always felt myself striving to be as good of a dad. Like the starting point was, let me try to be half as good of a dad as my dad was.
Yep.
And as long as you're always framed that way, it's not that hard. It's tiring,
Right.
but it's not difficult like fundamentally.
Makes you appreciate everything they did for us then a lot more now.
Absolutely.
At least for me.
For sure.
Yeah, and I mean, my dad was, you know, like we can talk about what I do for a living, but like he fought fires in a city, and he like built decks, like swung a hammer and broke his back to like make ends meet. So I couldn't even imagine being like a pencil pusher. I couldn't imagine having that load of being like a manual laborer and an actual hero on top of being a dad. I just have to go from one room to the next.
And then somehow he still found ways to never miss a wrestling match, never miss a Pop Warner game. He was heavy into Pop Warner to the point that building's named after him.
I just found that out.
Yeah.
I think I sent you a picture of it. Which, I mean, I don't know how I've known you guys this long, and I had no idea. I mean, I always knew your father was super involved. And, you know, that's impressive, having a building named after you. Think about the work and dedication he had to do for that organization.
Yeah, it took him about a year to get that like start to finish, and all of that stuff, as I remember, was like donated. Like everybody, there was enough people in the trades in the organization that basically soup to nuts. They paid for materials, I think, but like that was all donated labor. Like I don't know if you could pull something like that off. That's it's like an old Amish barn raising, right?
Right.
Like, can
Comes
you do
from
that
strong
now?
leadership.
Will that many people do that much work for free now?
I don't know if that many people
Selfishly, I've
show up.
wanted to turn that place into a wrestling room for a while now, but
It's not as big as you think. It's pretty
no,
small.
but I was
Pretty
in
small,
there.
too.
We had like the Predator meeting in there, and I was in there, and I was kind of visualizing like, all right, the trophies. If we can keep the trophies against the wall, we could probably roll a decent amount of mat out in there.
There were mats in there, fun fact.
Really?
Yeah, and I used to roll with, shout out to Big Jim Bone.
Nice.
Jimmy's dad. I used to roll with him sometimes in there.
That's awesome.
They were not like wrestling mats. They were the fuzzy
Oh, the
kind
blue
of cheer
ones?
gymnastic
Like the cheer mats.
Yep.
And then he rolled with me until I got like to a spot where he didn't want to roll with me anymore. So like maybe sophomore year of high school.
So this is Jimmy Bone's dad you're talking about?
Jimmy Bone's dad.
That's
Jimmy
amazing.
Jim Bone Sr. used to roll with me in the field house.
That's amazing. He comes into practice because his grandson Carter is on the intermediate group and comes to the club.
That's
So he
Kristen's.
comes in, Kristen's boy Carter. So he comes in now as like the grandpa, and you could just tell he's just smiling, just watching. You know, that grandparent role seems super special. I know we talk about it a lot, but
It's different.
Yeah.
I'm sure your father's embracing that now.
He does. It's, you know, it's they're different, right? So like they've gone from like super high energy, like nonstop dads to now next level, like they're older, right? So they don't have the same like go energy, but they have the same go head, right?
I'm
like
sure.
even your dad, man, your dad is a warrior, but in his mind, like he's got to get up and go to work every day. He's got to come in and yell at some people.
Yep.
Right?
Usually me.
It's still like in his mind, he wants to be able to do the same stuff that he always did, right?
Well, they don't know the limitation. You know, they've been breaking their backs forever, and to give us a better life. And now as they grow, they got to slow down. And especially my dad, as compromised as he is with his failing health or changing health, the guy still thinks in his mind he can conquer the world. And I know he's feeling good when he comes in and he tells me I'm stupid and I'm fucking shit up and I don't know anything. And I love it. I sit here and I smile about him talking shit to me because that's when I know he's feeling good.
Right.
And he's got that energy in him and that fight. But you're right. They got to slow down because it's a new life for them, especially my dad. But, you know, your father just in the ranks of growing old has to take a step back and slow things down.
Yeah, and they, you know, half the year they live with us too, right? So there is daily interaction, which is a blessing. There's also that daily familiarity where it's not as like when my wife's mom comes in, it's a party because my mom showed up. Like now we're roommates for lack of a better term. They have their own house in the house, but like we do see each other every day. So it's every interaction, the interactions are more familiar than they are like surprising.
Right.
You know?
How do you like having them with you?
It's great. It's great. You know, it's awesome to have, you know, there's the old Italian stuff. Like we have meals together Friday, Sunday, right? And I, you know, we're able to help each other. They, you know, pop in with babysitting and things like that. We can help them with the stuff that they need help with, which, you know, honestly, like I said, as the years go on, they find themselves in need of a little more assistance with some stuff than they used to. And my dad still, you know, wants to motor. He still wants to have a project all the time.
I was gonna say, man, you're definitely putting his ass to work.
Yeah, I try to manage.
Big Rob's got no chill.
I was gonna say, what did he like build a deck or something? What was the most recent project?
He built the treehouse last year.
Oh, the treehouse, that was sick.
Like that was too much for him, and he did it like in like 3 days. And now I am more selective with what I'll even want him put in his ear. Like more stuff I'm like calling somebody else to do. Like
how does he respond to that?
He's fine with it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
I think he loved that he was able to build that treehouse.
Oh,
but I think
he went out on top. He got it done. That's the final
And that's
project.
a nice permanent structure you can look at outside. Like you're damn right, Grandpa built that.
You could name that the Rob Morello Senior Treehouse.
He'll bring all your dads up there, take a look. They could have an old person slumber party.
I'd have to pick mine up with a rotator, put him in there.
I'm sure, man. Well, my dad helped with a lot of house projects when we first moved in. Like he was at my house. His phone actually said work, because he would call it like going to work. So he would like, whenever he typed in my address or whatever on his phone, it would come, my house would come up as work. But like the house needed a lot of love and my dad did all that stuff. But, you know, similar to your dad, where now it's kind of like pick and choose the projects. Like, dude, I don't want you, I'd rather just pay somebody to come over here and do it. Like, you know, you could tell he wants to do these things, but it's the same with Rob's dad. Like, he's cool with me not asking him. It's not like he's begging me for projects. Like, he's like, oh, somebody else came and did that? Nice.
They'll never admit that they were happy we didn't ask, but they were like, all right, good. It's better that way.
Yeah.
And your dad's a tough dude, too.
He is a tough dude. He's definitely turned into way more of a softie now that he's a grandpa than he once was, but he's still tough, man. He still has that tough energy going. So, Rob, I mean, you've really been around youth sports probably since college. When did you really get started with, like, I guess, was Old Bridge your first? Or was it Predator?
No, before that it was Predator. When I stopped wrestling at college, I was only at Rider, so it was an easy ride over, and that was the way
So that was what?
2001.
Oh, wow.
2000. Well, like so, beginning of 2002.
Wow.
That winter is when I started coming back.
Do you think your dad being around youth sports for so long had something to do with you coming back, or what do you think drew you back in?
Well, at the time, so 2001, I mean, my brother Justin was still in it, right? So he was wrestling Predators. He was wrestling in middle school. So I think that sucked me back in
I'm sure.
initially. And then I was like a support guy, but because I was still a college student, right? Like I was helping Bo, shout out to Bo, right?
Yeah.
And Harry, shout out to Harry.
Huge shout out to those guys.
And then when I went north for grad school, that's when Bo reached out to me about Old Bridge. And that's probably when that kicked in, right? That gear of, well, I can't just coach. Like, I see things that are in need of improvement. Like, I can't just sit idly and watch these things not be run right.
Yeah.
That's when it started to become this.
So fun fact, I don't know if you know this. When he took over the Old Bridge program, my nephews were just getting involved, Gabriel and Sebastian.
Awesome.
And they had the pleasure of wrestling under Rob and Justin. And I remember bumping into them at the tournaments and stuff like that when I would go see the boys wrestle.
Yeah.
And it was, we were young then. I didn't have kids. Kids weren't even a thought for me. And I'm seeing Rob, who I've known a long time, and I've watched him grow and probably hit a lot of milestones before I did, because I had a lot more maturing to do, and he did it a little earlier. But I'm watching him run this kids organization, a youth wrestling organization with no kids involved, just out of the goodness of his heart and the love of the sport, and he killed it. I mean, the guy did a great job.
Absolutely crushed it at Old Bridge. Absolutely crushed it at Howell.
Yeah. Crushes it at everything he does. Look at him now. I'm serious.
But then there's also been like something changed within you over the course of the last few years as we continue the friendship that we have together. We have identified that there has been personal growth within you. I don't know when it was or what it was or if it was a culmination of a lot of different things, but you were always a very chippy guy. And like to hear that you were nervous for this, you would always make me calm when we were younger. I was a nervous wreck before the matches. He was always super poised. Yeah. I was a freshman. He was a senior. He would drive me to Shore Thing. I vividly remember him like making me meals at his house. And I'm like 14. I'm like, this guy cooks. He's got a car. He's got a 20 CD changer in the trunk. This dude is the man. And then you go out and watch him wrestle, and he just had a relentless pursuit.
Yeah.
When did I? Okay, probably maybe it was having girls, right?
Probably.
Maybe that.
Well, kids in general.
Maybe that watered
things a little bit.
Watered the fire down a little bit, right?
Yeah, but you were even more chippy just a few years ago than you are now.
I agree.
You know.
What happened?
Life.
Maturity. Yeah, maybe,
know?
right? And maybe you. Maybe what the process of starting to move away, like, had me looking back on some of those moments and realizing that I didn't necessarily need to redline them, right? Like, my move was always, in any interaction, especially in sports, was always in a calculated way, blow it up and watch everything like explode and go all over the place, and then see how it came back together. And that always, it typically ended in the result that I wanted, but that didn't mean that it was the right way to do it, right? Like, I spent a lot of time saying things for a well-intentioned purpose, but like making a lot of people mad in the process. And that started, like, I started doing that in like high school, right? Like, I guess antagonist is the right word. Like, I've been an agitator to people for a long time, and now I'm glad you brought this up, because now at this point in life, I look back at those moments, I'm like, man, I wish that I had handled that relationship better, right? Like,
Yeah, but if you didn't, because I think everybody can say that, if you didn't, would you have had the ability to grow today and be the person you are, right? I got a ton of shit that I am so embarrassed or regretful of, but if it wasn't for some of those situations, I'm not here today, being the person I am.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, it sucks to look back on it, but it made you reflect.
Yeah, there were definitely a few interactions that I had with people that I actively sought that person out lately and was like, yo, I botched that. I wish that I didn't. I apologize.
Look at the growth.
Facebook's a good tool for that, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And people are caught off guard by that. It was kind of like that Billy Madison lipstick moment.
Oh my God, he's got everybody's name in the basement.
Yeah, and how many people's lists can I get crossed off of?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of lists I'm on still, and I'm trying to right those wrongs.
Right, and I try to spend as little time in the multiverse of your head as possible, because like every bad decision you made or every like pivotal mistake put you on a different track, right?
Sure,
so if you do that, you can like unwind your whole current life. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, if I didn't do this thing when I was 16, then I would have gone in this direction. And then you look at your like whole setup right now and you're like, this wouldn't exist. What are you doing?
Exactly.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Like, that's bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. And like, there's been plenty of times that I've been kind of thinking about things that I did or didn't do or said, whether it's before bed, you start thinking about these things. And it's just like, to Billy's point, like, if I wasn't those certain ways or I wasn't doing those certain things or some of these things that I'll still kind of resort back, like, oh, you were an idiot for doing that, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today. It's just unfortunately. But the other people that you reached out to, like, they have their own life, dude. Like, they're not thinking about you and what happened in 2001. You know, they went on with their life, but then for them to see, like, oh, wow.
Rob's grown a lot.
Dude, you have a heart now. Like, you noticeably have a heart. And like, our relationship, I think, has grown as we've grown as people together. But you seem to show more, like, I always thought you were just kind of like, I don't know, emotionless. He was the older guy that I looked up to, even in Predator. He was the older guy. We were all young. We were light. He was like the captain. He was the guy you looked up to. And you just like never rattled, you know?
Yeah, but you're still like that too.
Yeah.
You're an expert at disarming people as well. So like
True.
you I don't know if you enjoy or it's part of your process. You like to see how, like, what layer of the onion you can peel back during a conversation
Right.
too. And it could have just been to talk about a wrestling match, and all of a sudden you have me like in my feels, and I'm like, he did it again. Damn it.
I know.
Talking about this.
I know. I could like literally like just like peel the shield off of him. And then,
Yeah, but that's
like,
what
by the
makes
end of
you-
the conversation. I'm just like, oh, Rob's a softie now.
That makes you good at this, though, because I was getting a tattoo a couple weeks ago from Ian at Unroyal, who is a big fan of yours, by the way. I guess you guys grew up playing some
Pop
new
Warner
sports together.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and he told me, you got to stop coming in here like Podcast Billy. You got to be my feels, whatever. And you're Podcast Petey when you're pulling it out of Rob.
But you could be like on the toilet and you call Petey to say what's up, and before you know it, you're laying on your couch crying.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Well, that's why I say it. He's like my therapist when I come in here. He's pulling it out of you every time.
calling missed.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we're all human beings out here. Like, you can try to act like a tough guy all you want, but I mean, we could still be tough and compassionate. I don't want anybody to be like me necessarily. Or say, oh, you should be having conversations with adults and make them feel like softies. But
you want to pull people out a little bit. And But that's
it's just I think my point was not to cut you off.
No, you're
It's
good.
been nice to see that side of him. I always thought he was just on a mission to just dominate everybody.
He still is.
And I'm just glad that I wasn't on his path, man. He always kind of took me under his wing.
But that's what growth is, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you still want to be that strong, dominant figure, but you know there's a way to use it, a way to be, and a way to approach other people. That's maturing. That's refining. And especially in your industry, you kind of, when you go to court, that's like war. You got to be ready to fight, defend your client, advocate, whatever it is. So I'm assuming you're not incredibly passive at this point, but growing up, I always watched you. You were kind of like the alpha. Your father's an alpha. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
I get it. But you've modified your life to be that kind alpha.
Yeah.
That when needed, can do alpha shit, and when needed, just plays his role on the side.
You realize, and like you realize at a certain point that it's better to have a big circle than a small circle too, right? Like you spend your like 20s feeling like, oh, I got everything I need, and then like you fall into more friends, right? Like I fell into rugby club friends, right? And I fell into Sure Thing friends, and then you fell into the Howell friends, and you realize pretty quickly that the more you added to that extended family, the better it was for you, right? The healthier it was for you, and so I guess, at a certain point, you realize it was better to have more friends than to keep some like weird defensive like guard up all the time about everybody. Yeah, and I guess I'm glad I guess I'm glad I discovered that. It was probably later than most other people discovered it. It was probably at some point in my 30s, right? But yeah, here we are, and I cry during movies now. Yeah,
That's funny you say that, bro. I realized the amount of growth I made. We had a dog that we had to put down, and I was having a really difficult time with it. And I come downstairs, and my wife's watching this movie about a fucking dog who was waiting for his owner that died at a train station every day. The dog showed up waiting for the guy to get off the train. I cried for 30 fucking minutes.
Dude.
I've
might
never
wanna get
done
those-
that.
You might want to look into the testosterone. levels, see
We're
where
going
they're
after
at.
the new year. I'm getting on. That's my New
Sounds
Year's
like you're geared up
resolution.
on
We're
estrogen
doing
right
the
now,
TRT. But at that point, I knew that my life has changed, and I am not the man I once was, and I am okay to cry. And honestly,
Attaboy.
I'm not crying too much, but I like being okay to cry.
I still will, like, because, you know, in my house, everybody's crying during the movie before me. So I will.
Are you holding it in though?
I leave the room.
Yeah.
I'm like, I
wow.
gotta pee, guys.
I got something in my
I go to the
eye.
bathroom and I collapse.
The tears are hitting the floor. It sounds like he's taking a shower.
Why does it's almost like every movie shot to make you cry now, too, right? Like,
It's a depressing
Yeah.
world out there.
seriously.
Yeah. No one could just laugh. And even when I'm laughing, I feel like I want to cry sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, man. Yeah, see, everybody finally caught up, dude. I've been the emotional guy my whole life, and everybody's just calling me a bitch. For
You're ahead of the
crying all
curve.
time. I was
Nah, you're ahead of the
man. I
curve,
started
bro.
the trend.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But, you know, between all the stuff in wrestling, like literally what he did for Predator was basically... Obviously, the foundation was built in the 90s, and those were the programs that we were a part of. And the old school guys and all these parents, they really created, you know, what it is today. But, Rob, how long were you there? Like 10?
So, all in all, more than 10 years because
Yeah.
it was coaching. There were 2 phases of coaching, and then when I came in as the head coach. So, yeah, over a decade combined. The last round was like 5 or 6 years, I think.
Okay, well, that 5 or 6 year run that he had, he created the blueprint for what you have today, like Team Snap.
You
That
were
was you, right?
responsible for Team Snap?
You're welcome.
Yeah,
I hate it.
He automated.
I always
dude,
get
Team
logged
Snap
out
is
of
a game
it.
changer.
No, it was
Yeah, no, Team Snap is an absolute game changer.
Team Snap is awesome. Thank you.
And he did such a
you might
good
be able
job.
to get a live read one day, and Team Snap is great, right, Billy?
Yeah.
Nah, Team Snap is on point, dude. Team Snap is on point. But my point was, people have actually like taken what Rob and what Howell has done and created immense success in neighboring
Oh,
towns.
yeah.
So it seemed like the foundation was laid out, but he kind of brought the technology and like the younger aspect while still kind of coaching with the old school stuff. He brought in like a new school type feel with the technology, communication, putting different parents in different spots. You know, sometimes it could be one of these parents that might have been super annoying about their own kid, but they still want to be around all the time. And Rob would give that person
Yeah.
a task. And now they had a responsibility. And now, you know, they're coming. Now their wife is showing up, you know, whoever it may be. And that continues to go to this day. But I kind of look at some of these other towns and I'm like, dang, they freaking copycatted what Rob did over
You had
here.
a successful model, and I'm
Yeah.
assuming that model started in Old Bridge with
Probably,
the
right?
success
Yeah.
of that organization, because I know where they are, and I mean, in a way, you've put a feeder program together for Johnny Post, because a lot of those kids are coming through that program, which I'm assuming is still successful,
But you have to
based on your
remember-
hard work and effort.
You have to remember, after Rob was at Old Bridge, John was the guy at the youth level.
And
you know?
expanded to high school, but that's on your foundation.
For sure.
You know, and your hard work and your dedication to put that program in a successful place. Then you moved on to the next one in Howell, and you did a great job there. I'm so disappointed we've lost you to the South, and I'm hoping...
It seems to be a great move for him overall. So I'm not even upset.
No.
We're sad to see him
Personally
go,
and
but-
selfishly,
Yeah.
I would like more Rob Morello time.
Right.
Rob Morello Jr. and Senior. They used to be in my office 2-3 days a week. I'd see either one of them randomly.
Well, I'm thinking maybe we can cut some hoses or something underneath his vehicle, and we can
Yeah,
kind of guarantee
works
him
for
over
me.
to certified by the
Yeah.
end of today, at least.
Works for me.
Thank you for that. I took Howell's model and brought it to Old Bridge, right? And then it became something, and it was Rich and Harry's thing, right? They built the organization and turned it into like this massive undertaking project. And then I kind of took that model and brought it to Old Bridge. And then what I had figured out over years that was working and not working for present day, I just kind of brought that back down. And the Predators never really needed, it's like a Ferrari that needs a tune-up more than anything else,
Sort of
right?
a
It was still,
refinement.
it was still a Ferrari. It just needed to be cleaned out and tuned up, and it wasn't hard to put it back on. But still, and Pete learned it, like you always learn the hard way. It's still a Ferrari, and you're always flooring it, and so it's a difficult thing to control, and it's a time consuming entity.
Yeah.
Where if you don't give away responsibility, if you always just feel like you're the guy that should be doing everything, it wears you down, it wears you out, right? And so putting people in places is critical.
Well, you have to be able to delegate
to longevity. Otherwise, you won't make it. And
sure.
And you only learn that from having a year or two when you took too much onto yourself. And realizing you wanted to pull.
That'll be a rough year or two when you do that too. But once you figure out how to delegate, life is a lot more freeing.
Yeah, and the people running the organization now came in learning the lessons from me and from Pete, like. Let's not even try to do it alone, right? Let's come in with this group collaborative mentality. And Joe learned that too, right? Like Joe and I worked hand in hand. Joe and Pete worked hand in hand. Joe even felt like at points, I don't want to speak for him, that he had taken too much on. And so now the new crew is operating in a very compartmentalized fashion, and it's working for them because they're not doing 50 hours a week of Predators, which is we've talked about Predators 3 times already. That's how important it is to all of us. Like you talk about Big Jim Bone popping back in, like think about how many levels of kids that is. That's 1, 2, that's 3 generations down now we are, right?
That's crazy.
Right? And it's so cool, like to see now our friends' kids wrestling and wearing the colors, and to see like some people's grandkids, like we're that far in. It's the organization's going to be 30 years old pretty soon.
Now, did you guys ever get to coach together in Predator?
That was the thing. I was going to kind of bring that up as we were talking through his Predator a little bit. I was with the Little Sharks while that was probably your last year as head coach. I had the Little Sharks group. So we never really coached, I guess, together, but I feel like we've been around coaching kids for a while.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like he kind of was Coach Pete before Coach Pete in a sense, and gave you like maybe not a game plan or a model, but I remember being younger and seeing you at the house up the street from my one house doing privates with high school kids, and I know the influence you've had on the Ortega boys, because Dwayne still talks about you the 3 times a week that he comes in to see me.
That's Dwayne.
I was just talking to Seabass last night.
He's but I know the impact you've left and on a lot of kids, and I see that impact coming to a lot of the kids in high school now, but also a lot of the younger kids, Petey, you're leaving your mark on, whether it's at the club or it's at Predator or whatever. And it seems like you did the same.
My favorite thing about coaching is, and I discovered that later once these kids got older, was that now some of the kids that I coached in Old Bridge are now like friends of mine.
Yeah,
like,
right.
They reach out to go hang out. Like, like when I went up to visit my friend, these kids at Johnson Wales, and I went out drinking with 2 of them.
Yeah,
you had a frat party.
2 were wrestling in Nerfu or whatever it's called, right? In the New England region tournament, and I'm out partying with these guys in Providence, and I'm like, this is the best, right? Because these were kids I coached when they were 8, 9 years old, and now they're like my adult friends.
And now those same kids you're talking about are coaches, and that makes it even more special. So you became friends with them over time. They're old enough to drink. You're drinking with them, but you planted enough seeds in them to know that they need to pay it forward when their party is over. So,
but that speaks so much about both of you and your qualities of leadership, because you impacted these young minds at the time enough to formulate their adult lives to where they're going to get back involved and give back to the youth, just like you're doing. And you're seeing the fruits of your labor through a couple young guys that come to the club. Like, look at Willie Stapleton, dude. There's no way in 10 years this kid's not out there rolling around. And I mean, he's one of the best kids I've ever met.
But think about this now. So this goes to the point about like my approach, as much as I believed it was the only approach in every situation. Pete's approach to being head coach was drastically different from mine in terms of relationship building and communication, and it also worked. Right? So that shows
my communication was good with the kids. Could have been way better with the parents. I put guardrails up and I'm like, my focus is these kids, these parents and all their drama and everything that they have to say and all these conversations that are created in the parents' room. Like, that's none of my business. I could have done a way better job of being more transparent with the kids, but I did go singular focused on the kids. But you're right. It had the same type of outcome. It just looked a little bit different.
Many ways to skin a cat.
To lose to Tom's River as every single
in a tie. And you were there that day, man, making moves. Now, that was actually a great day overall. It was a tie on the scoreboard. But I ended up seeing the advanced group kids. They had the Cutter Classic yesterday. Matt was working Wednesday, so I ran the practice. And I was pretty intense, dude, because like we still, as much as I'm nice to the kids and I develop relationships and all that stuff, like we still got this, like, there's still the way that we came up and like there's still something to be said about that stuff. Like you still have to grind it out. You have to be a good leader. I saw a lot of selfishness, a lot of lackluster. I got it all figured out and I noticed that right away. Practice was supposed to start at 1:30. Kids are still sitting down tying their shoes at like 1:33. So I felt my stomach. I'm like, oh, I'm about to let loose right now. And I kept it relatively cool, but I also like hit them with some sheer facts. Like this little 6-year-old boy is watching everything this 8th grader does. So you better be careful what kind of things you're showing this kid because you're going to pass the torch to these guys.
It's fun.
How do you want it to look from here on out?
It's fun to like flex that muscle and turn it on every now and then.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, Pete lets it fly.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does what he does on Sundays. That's a thing
Billy
that
talks about that.
That's a thing that I could never. The tolerance for the tots is a gift that he's got that I never ever.
And there's
had.
not one of those kids in that room that is not in love with Pete. I mean, it's shocking the amount of discipline that he could give them, structure and work that they're doing, and not one kid is mad to see Coach Pete. Everybody's got a smile on their face.
That's where the niche came from because most of society can't handle it.
Yeah.
And I can't handle it with my own kids most of the time.
No, but I'll tell you what, you handle it great with a room full of other people's kids.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever seen one of his practices on a Sunday?
I don't think I've ever been in.
I implore you to come up and see this. It is incredible.
He's got to bring Mel, though.
Let's go.
She's been to some wrestling practices.
Bro, I watched that video of her wiping out. Where were you guys, AC?
We were at the place in AC yesterday.
Dude, she went down so hard.
Dude,
I didn't see it.
She wiped out on the flow rider. She like stepped into it.
We were just there.
She stepped into it. She knows better too.
He was talking
she
to
rides
like,
the one. She rides the one. Yeah, she rides the one in LBI all the time, and she stepped into the wave. And it swept her feet out, and she did a full.
How'd you deal with it?
She was good. She's hard to hurt.
She's a tough cookie, man.
She's I would she's kind of has been to some wrestling practices this season, so maybe.
You got high hopes?
I don't. If she quit tomorrow, I'd be happy to see it end. Yeah, it's not my favorite thing.
I don't think it would be mine, but I do have my daughter going because she likes hanging out with Johnny Riley's son.
Yeah, but she just goes and chills on the outside.
Yeah, but like she just hangs out with John, but she'll put on her shoes and she'll run around.
I remember watching Olivia wrestle. And dude, she came in, hit the Verrazano Bridge first day of practice. She had the best bridge in the room, and like all the gymnastic skills, you could really excel in wrestling.
So they actually,
she just had it. She had the killer instinct that Rob has. She's
ready
flipping
to go
around. She's outworking these kids.
She had the calisthenic and like the athletic aspect. She retired the first time she got pushed on the ground. That was it.
And I know your dad wasn't too thrilled about it, right?
No, yeah. Olivia's
gotta be tough for your little
Olivia's
grandbaby.
wired differently. She's like, she's a gymnast, so she's got the athletic base to do a lot of stuff, right?
Right.
Melody is more like me. She's solid, and she like she's all right. Well, she like does some stuff on the wrestling mat, and you're like she chases feet, finishing a takedown.
Nice.
And she knows how to kind of control hips on top, and you're like, that kind of looks like wrestling. I didn't really want to see that. I was hoping this went badly.
Well, I mean, we're going to be at a point with girls wrestling in maybe 5 to 7 years that they could just have girl partners. Because some of the more talented girls around here are having a hard time, even on the youth level. Like, I don't blame the boys for not wanting to lose to the girls when they start getting good.
Yeah.
I remember there was a kid on our middle school team that lost to a girl, and we all made fun of him. He never showed up again. But it's like, dude, the girls have an advantage. It doesn't sound right that they have an advantage, but they're like they pay attention better. They're more flexible. They're more physical mature at these younger ages.
First, yeah.
There's a short window where they have an advantage. The boy doesn't feel that way when he's getting his ass kicked by a girl and all his teammates are ripping on him. But like, let me see the teammates ripping on him get out there. He'll probably lose too.
There was a girl at the Santa Showdown. She's wrestling. She was 2 matches after Max. Max had just won. We're watching. I think Gav was coming up. And this girl's working people over. And I said, thank God Max didn't have to wrestle a girl like this for his first match, because there's no coming back from it. In my mind, there'd be no coming back from it for my 6-year-old to get decimated by a girl who's a savage.
She's communicated to me. We've been to again, a lot of people don't know this. We've been to enough practices this season that she's communicated to me, I like going, but I like going when there's girls there.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't want,
I don't blame
and
her.
I don't, and I agree. So like it is.
Well, it's got to be
now-
awkward for you to see her rolling around with a boy.
Yeah, I mean, at 8 it doesn't matter.
No,
right?
awkward in the
But
sense that you're afraid she's
the
going to get
boys are
hurt.
strong-
Because
yeah, the
that's
boys
what I'm
are
saying.
stronger and more physically aggressive.
Yeah.
And they could have way more reps than she does.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, but I mean, my kid could go out on a mat and wind up rolling around with somebody with way more reps. Just in physical power, it might be a little awkward.
She was on the mat with a girl with way more experience than her yesterday, and she got her butt kicked. She got destroyed, and I had zero problem with it.
Yeah.
Right.
As opposed to when she's rolling with a boy wrestler and they're 50-50, but I feel a sense of stress about it because I just didn't really want that to be the setup anyway.
right.
So now, like, you know, she's a soccer player, so if there's time permitting, if she wants to do more wrestling, you start to begin that like cat chasing a yarn of, can you find more girl wrestlers?
more girl wrestlers and more girl partners.
Or maybe it just dies a natural death. Oh damn, no more wrestling.
Well, now,
No, I think it would be good for her in soccer. Honestly,
I mean,
think
listen,
it helps
it's
all those
conditioning,
sports.
but I feel like it would be
I'm a
good
little
for
bit
you
biased.
too. I mean, you throw yourself. You're an amazing dad. I see it. You're in everything. But I know wrestling's like a passionate thing for you, and it might not be the worst for you to be able to stay involved with the organization down there.
Well, sure. And
Something's gotta be
I've been
pulling
on
you that way.
yeah, and it's nice to be on the mat again. It's
sure.
cool, but I don't want, again, and this is the conversation I have at home. It's we don't want her to be wrestling because she thinks that I want her.
Yeah,
to,
you want her to do it.
and that's really important. That it's not because of me; it's because she wants to be there.
Yeah.
And so I keep asking, and maybe I'm asking those questions in a loaded fashion because I want a different answer. But like yesterday, we got home from the water park, and I was like, "Well, you don't have to go tonight." She said, "No, well, Haley's going. We got to wrestle tonight." And so we got in the car and went to wrestling practice.
There you go.
And they threw a really vicious practice at them too. So she slept well last night.
Now
Nice.
you're on the mat right now.
Yeah.
How long have you been rolling around? Because I see you're in amazing shape. You look great. I know you're in the gym, and I mean, is that part of it? Did that spark you to get back in the gym, or?
No. Those were, the wrestling is new.
It seems like you got back in the gym, what,
and
3 years ago?
Yeah, about.
Okay.
And the wrestling just started because she started going.
Okay.
So, and I'm on, like, it's the little kids mat. So, you know, it's Zach is over there with Mark Maestri yelling at the advanced kids, and
Yep.
I'm on the Tots mat where I'm happy to be right now, fixing their half Nelsons and
Good.
making sure they do stand-ups right.
Stance,
Yeah, that's
stand-ups.
it.
Yep.
I started working out like 2020, right?
Now,
Like
what
during
prompted
COVID.
that?
I don't know.
Sounds like a COVID thing, possibly.
Maybe,
with
maybe,
that year.
maybe he
Anytime I
started
hear that
going-
year, it's like,
Jess started going to this gym, which was called Southern Fit at the time, and it was a group fitness place. And I always pictured like Max, like calisthenics class and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I don't want any part of it.
Right.
And then I was like going to like retro, and it was boring me. So I tried a couple classes, and that'll be 3 years in like February. So
nice. Did you dabble in like the CrossFit scene for a little while there,
when
too?
I was playing rugby, I was doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
And my body wanted nothing to do with that. at this
Dude, I
point.
don't blame
It's
you.
aggressive.
Some of those exercises, I'm like, dude, is that good for your lower back? Those
Definitely
pull-ups?
not. And I don't want to.
I'm not knocking
I don't want to
anybody.
annoy an entire fitness industry, but for me, this part of my life is not going to be for getting a 150-pound snatch up,
Yeah.
or like trying to do 400 on a squat rack anymore. Like I don't have any interest in that. My back doesn't want that. My shoulders don't want that.
Did I ever tell you the story how Coach Rock outworked me at Freehold CrossFit one day? I walked
he?
in there.
You mentioned it a couple weeks ago on here.
Yeah, dude, I was I was running all the time. I looked in physically good shape until you walk into a group that's doing these exercises on the daily. So I see this guy, Coach Rock, and like he looks great right now. Like I don't know how old he is, maybe like late 50s, 60s or so. Yeah. So he was our coach at the time, and back when we were younger, and I walk in there, I look physically fit. And dude, he did laps around me, bro. I mean, anything we were doing, we're like pushing one of those things, and I'm like, I got my head down, I'm looking over, he's like 6 feet ahead of me. I'm like, oh. And then I look over at the next thing. Like, it's hard to stay in your element in that CrossFit scene. Like, I should have came in with the approach of, hey, I'm a new guy. It's my day one. I'm going to get out whatever I can, and I'm just going to not focus on anyone else. But it's hard not to. Like, you see females that are, like, putting up more weight than you.
Yeah.
Like, add more. And I'm like, oh, okay. I got 5, but they were all terrible, you know.
I did a Christmas Eve class, or Christmas Day, whatever Sunday was. Sunday was Christmas Eve, I guess, at Leaks. Robbie asked me to go in. He said, come, try something different. It was all women. I'm, like, the only guy there. And, like, they're killing it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, bro, I just want to sit down. Let's bench. And the one girl looks at me and she's
bench. It sounds like retro, dude.
And this girl is a cheer coach at Monmouth University, and she looks at me and she goes, now it was mostly like a lot of stretching, but it sucked.
Yeah.
And she's like, stretching builds strength. And I was like, Jesus, all right. I looked at Robbie, I was like, you gotta hire this girl. She's putting me right in my place. But
you like those Leaks classes, right?
I like Leaks. It's different, and Robbie does like a workout that I like. So it's high intensity, but I'm weight training at the same time. I feel great. Petey came in and banged out a workout. He got through it no problem. I mean,
he's got good stuff in there.
There's
he does.
No workout that you can put Pete in any workout, and he's going to be better at whoever brought him
I
there.
agree. I agree. But now he sits here and he's like, huh, just because I'm in great shape doesn't mean I could do that workout. Now I expected him to walk in. And
he had a false perception on what.
No, I didn't, because you're in amazing shape, and he's right.
Even when he was not in amazing shape, he still remained in amazing shape. every single fitness thing that he has said on this podcast for 14 episodes before has been a lie, because when he was not taking good care of his body, when he was smoking cigarettes,
he killing it.
Still show up and run 520 miles.
So he comes into Leaks. And
drinking me the night before 5Ks and marathons.
In my mind, I'm going to look like shit performing next to Pete. And I'm not saying I was keeping up with Pete. I'm not saying I outpaced Pete. We had a great workout. And Pete looked at me and goes, this is fucking hard. And it made me feel so great about myself. Because I'm looking at this guy who I think is prepared to like run cross country and pick up cars on the way. And like, all right, it's hard for me. Petey struggled a little bit. Like, all right, I'm not doing terrible.
Thor out, so therefore it must have been legit.
Yeah, so it's all right. It's okay that I'm tired.
Freaking every breather that we had, I was thrilled to get a breather.
But now you're doing like sets, which is similar, right?
Yeah.
Because Ev goes to sets, and I think I was under the impression it's similar.
On that kid
He's looking good. Mason said he looks like
Hold on, did this kid just walk in with like 15 cheeseburgers?
I sure did. And homemade fries.
In the middle of a song. There's fucking fitness.
Yeah, we're talking, right. Size 28 pants over there is going to eat 7 of them.
Jesus Christ, no. Yeah, Ev, what size waist are you?
32.
Are you?
32, 32.
I would have went with like the 28, 29 there. You're looking lean. What about you? What about you, Petey?
32.
How about like a 34? I don't know how that's possible, because I'm like...
32 again.
Nah, I feel like you're on your way.
Baby got back.
No, I'm
Were you 36?
just trying to get the top bigger than the bottom. That's all. That's the only goal at this point.
Fat bottom boy over here.
Yeah. Now it's called sets. It's just they merged with a chain, with a franchise.
But it's high intensity stuff like that,
low
right?
weight, high rep, a lot of cardio.
See, that's why I like what Robbie does for me, because we started out low weight, high intensity. I wanted more weight, like. In the beginning, I didn't.
Let's bench. Let's
bench.
That needs to be in the tags on YouTube for this podcast. Let's bench.
I might have actually commented to Robbie on the side, like, I don't want to stretch, bro. I said, I just want to take all the steroids and get really big and strong. I don't want to do this shit anymore. And that's where that comment came from. But I also said, let's bench. But Robbie has tailored my workouts now to be a little bit more weight training mixed with high intensity and cardio and stuff. But I don't want to go in there and pick up a 5-pound dumbbell 700 times. Like, it's a waste of my time, in my opinion. But for everybody else, it's different. Yeah, you're exhausted, but like I feel like I'm gonna die, and I feel like I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So he's hit my personal goals. Not that mine should be yours or yours should be mine.
No, I
but-
started going to those workouts a little bit less in the last couple months, only because I wanted to add some more lifting.
Yeah.
So I know where you're at. I understand that. I don't
Just
wanna do
different.
600 calories every single day. Like it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like all about like what works out best for you, and
Yeah.
and what's the most consistently sustainable. Where like you know
Right.
it's easy this time of year. Hey, January, freaking Retro Fitness across the street is gonna be flooded with
Packed.
people for the first 15 days, and then you're gonna have the consistent guys looking around in March going, "Where is everybody?"
Well, yeah,
You
and you
know?
measure out like, well, I want to be able to exercise 5 or 6 times a week. If I try to make those all those types of workouts, sets types work, I'm not going to get to 5 or 6.
You might do 3.
Yeah, and I'm like, my back's going to hurt so bad on Thursday
Yeah.
and maybe Friday that I can't do it again. So
Yeah.
like, you add other stuff in.
Exactly.
Those cheeseburgers smell so good.
Yeah, I can't believe you did this
Completely
in the
blew
middle
me
of
out.
a fitness
My train of thought.
conversation.
Bunch
Like
of fat kids at this table, and you
For
brought in
real.
a tray of burgers.
this is
I learned free lunch Friday from Certified Auto.
yeah,
There
but
you go.
who the fuck
Yeah,
brings cheeseburgers
I
in the
assume-
middle?
How did I know you
I
guys
ass-
talk about fitness?
I assumed
Oh
you
my
swiped for
God.
those. I assumed that like you're acting like you didn't know that he was coming in with
Seriously.
that tray, but that was
He
definitely
sent the
your doing.
text.
No, but I smell them, man. I smell them for sure.
So you had about 20 plus years of youth wrestling, and then that gave you all these great skills that you have now to be able to now coach your own kids in soccer. How has that been?
It's great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great because I know how to like organize a team.
Right.
So the girls have already outgrown my soccer acumen, right? So I'm
Okay.
already
So their skill set's
they're
elevated,
they're
but-
way better than what I know, right?
Right.
And you can't like playing catch up is futile at this point. You just have to pass them off to trainers
Yeah.
now, right? So
Nice.
we got to go here to train. When we do the travel teams, they bring a trainer in. We have a contract with the training organization
Solid.
that gives us trainers. So like it's more of a managerial role,
Which is
now.
perfect for you.
Yeah,
And your kids are out there.
And I still get. God bless. I get to do a lot of team snap still,
So you're like all in
and pep
on-
talks, and
Yeah.
I do a lot of I know how to
love
do that, right?
I love that.
Yeah, but you're good at that stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a natural leader, which is why I'm assuming you're successful in your field. I mean, okay.
It's sadistic. I also enjoy the parent stuff that Pete hated doing. Like
But-
I enjoy I like to bathe in stressed out parents.
But do you
Like,
think that stuff, those qualities,
Yeah, but they almost
dealing
need
with
you
stress?
anyway, so I'm glad.
Yeah, he's right. They need that. But do you think dealing with the stressed parent, the youth, and having that drive for success has kind of made you successful in a legal format?
they're the same thing. It's dealing with other people, things that are upsetting other people.
Yeah.
So, like, if I have my own problems, I'm not able to compartmentalize the issue from the emotion.
Yep.
When you're doing the coach, you're helping other parents deal with a problem that's making them upset.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing professionally. It's a lot of times, there's good stuff in there.
Yeah.
Buying a house, right? But then a lot of it is I've been injured, I've been arrested, I have this problem with my business, and so absolutely helping solve the problem, the ABCs of the problem is one thing. It's absolutely helped me with like managing
Yeah.
clients' emotions. Like,
I'm
and
sure.
I think that's critical, and that's the relationship aspect of it, right? You could as a lawyer, you could solve a problem for somebody and be a weirdo about it, and the problem got solved, but the client doesn't always feel good about it, right? So you place a loan, you get somebody a car. If you act like a weirdo about it, you might have accomplished that objective. They're not going to call again, and they're not
Yeah.
going to recommend you.
Well, I've been lucky enough to watch you grow in your career. Just let's say in the last couple of years, when COVID hit, I remember when courts opened, you were having court sessions or meetings, whatever, in the office with your your COVID suit on.
Yeah, you was
And-
like mesh shorts and a suit jacket or something.
Yeah, and he would come in. Yeah, he would come in and he would go in Zach's office and he'd have basketball shorts on with a shirt and tie, and he'd be sitting down and he'd be in his Zoom hearing or whatever doing his thing, and so I got to see that side of Rob, which still brought me that laughter that I'm so used to having with him. But I got to see him in a serious setting, at least 50%, and see him crushing it.
serious.
And it was nice to see him. And I've seen him go from working as an attorney at a firm to a partner to now being on his own with Morello Law. And I'm happy because, I mean, I came through high school similar to you, and similar struggles along the way, and I see the man that you've become, and over the years, like, without you knowing, you've kind of been a role model and an example for me. And I'm not talking about professionally. I'm not talking about with youth sports. I'm talking about like parenting and just being a good person. Like you've, and Petey to an extent as well, especially with parenting. But I've known you a lot longer than Petey, and I've seen you grow. And you kill it as a father. You kill it as a husband, a son, a leader, and a person. I know people that can confidently go to you if they need something. I've confidently come to you when I needed something. And it makes me proud to say, like, I know Rob Morello. Like, that's my guy.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's heartfelt.
Thank you. I don't have a good response to that other than
Other than thank you, that's fine.
Do you want a cheeseburger?
There's a blank expression of gratitude I have. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100%, man. And I know Johnny Post would say the same things, and I know that there's plenty of people in the wrestling community that have leaned on you, and just I was telling you guys when I was all depressed and everything for a while back there, I felt like I was on an island. And I was just like by myself, like in my own thoughts. And to have somebody like Rob and these good friends around you that you could kind of just voice these things out, even to people that are struggling with substances and whatnot. Sometimes what they resort back to is like finding their peace. Like sometimes you just need to talk it out. And I've been talking it out with Rob as a wrestling dad.
And sometimes, for some of us, it isn't necessarily venting, but sometimes it's listening to other people vent that remind you that everybody's having the same crises at some point, right?
Yeah.
Like not at the same time, but that crisis is happening for all of us at some point. And to have the availability to hear other people talk through it. Like you said, like sometimes we're talking on a phone and you're talking about you, and sometimes you get this vibe that maybe I'm just listening because maybe I get it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not the guy that's going to stand up and emote like that. And I wish that's a character trait that you guys have that I don't always have.
I don't really have it.
I appreciate it. No,
Pete's brought it out of me.
PD podcast, like
he's brought it out of me, bro.
He can break everybody down.
No, but we have had some combos about, like, I remember when I left Patriot, that might have been like 2020, and I would call Rob and I would kind of tell him, and he would kind of look at things from like a realtor or from like a lawyer lens, where he would kind of like, you could see he's kind of like weighing out the pros and cons, and I'm kind of talking it out. And then by the end of the conversation, we both kind of made up the decision just from me talking and him kind of like, okay, so that sounds like a positive. That sounds like a positive. Okay, that sounds like you're leaning towards that end, leaning towards here, leaning towards there. And then I was able to make the move with Oleg, and then he happened to be in a similar instance that I was, where he was like, hey, I think my production is outweighing what I'm getting right now, and I think that I should probably just go on my own. I was like, I think you should really kind of focus on that a little bit more. And then he would quietly, start up the LLC, get his logo going, and before you know it, he's putting videos up. And I'm like, dude, you did it. He's like, yeah.
It took me a long time. I'm
sure.
not
But you did it.
Yeah. And that was easily like the boldest thing you could ever do, right? Which is just like quit your job.
You bet on yourself.
You
bet on you. And you know what? There's not a lot of people that would do it. There's a lot of people that are scared to take that leap. Good job.
Well, and that's that friend circle, right? That's that you're glad you have a clan around you, because they were the ones not only that like propped you up from a pep talk, pat on the butt standpoint, but those were the people that were feeding you work from their friends in their circles.
Yep.
And so you're so thankful to have that many friends around you that can, send you stuff. Some of it is not going to make you any money. Some of it isn't even something you can help with. But just that the phone is ringing, there's that potential that something great can happen for you. And
one of those calls that made you no money today can make you money next time.
For sure.
You're building that relationship.
Totally.
100%. You're putting it, Rob was a nice ear. He listened even though he couldn't help today. Maybe I'll give him a shot on the next one.
Always. Right.
And that's what counts. That's how you build your book. That's why no matter where Petey's writing a mortgage at, people are going to call Pete.
Well, that's what I was just about to say about Rob. Like him being Rob Morello for the last, you 40 almost?
Jesus, you're old.
For the last 40 years have created something where he doesn't need somebody else's firm to keep him busy.
There's
enough people that are propping him up and talking about him behind his back that phone's going to continue to ring. And I'm glad that Morello law firm is the one that gets to reap all the benefits and not someone else taking all the risk and kind of eating off of you and your relationships and you as the person that you are.
Yeah, but you know what? Just based on him being him, I would send him referrals, but he's really good at what he does also. Yeah. I did have the pleasure to refer him probably his most interesting client, Pizza Pete. And he rep Pete. But, if he was closer, I'd send him everybody I knew. But I know a lot of your wheelhouse is down there. And
well, that's how I had to set it up, right? Is how, like, when you try to take root, like what's your niche going to be, like, and I stole some of yours, which was Mr. Community Man, right? The certified model. The certified model was to root in Howell and wrap yourself around the community. And I realized that just the way that I live my life, like you do, Pete, and also it's like man about town, right? So community based is the way that I'm going to succeed because that's where I spend the most time. I spend the most time at the park. I spend the most time at the fields. And so those are the people that you're going to interact the most frequently with. So that's where you should be plastering your logo. Those are the events you should be sponsoring.
Especially when you were going to do that no matter what. You were going to give your time back to the community. Right? You're there. Yeah. You might as well make it benefit you in the long run, and it's easy and a no-brainer at that point.
It is. And I think you sent me I asked you one thing and you sent me like the shortest but like most important text ever. And it was like sponsor everything. And that was it. And that was the whole message. And I've fed off of that. And that's absolutely now yielding.
Good. Well, think about it this way, right? So at least for me, I don't know what it costs down there, but if the local Little League comes in, it's usually a $200 check. If the local Pop Warner, it's $200 check. Whatever it is, it's small money. You could spend $10,000 a month on Google AdWords. That most likely isn't going to hit the majority of the people the way you want it to. But every time those people walk to that Little League field and then the Pop Warner field and then the soccer field or cheerleading, Morello Law. This guy supports our kids. We got to support this guy.
Yeah, and it's one case, right? Like, so in my head, it's like, okay, this is half of one case.
Yeah.
And it makes it totally worth it. Plus, you're there, and it's good. It's a good conversation starter also to people that you don't know when you're at that environment and you're on the wall and all of a sudden that segues into a conversation that could take it into a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, I wear certified stuff everywhere. It's literally all that's in my closet.
You guys got good stuff.
Yeah, it's nice.
Well, now
Nike,
we do.
3-button Nike, Tiger Woods. Oh, 2-button.
We've invested in our apparel.
That Run DMC shirt.
But when I did the certified Run DMC shirt, you told me I was going to get sued for copyright infringement. We never did a re-release because of it.
It's the wanted one.
But I had
infringe on the copyright with you.
I bit the Run DMC logo and I put relax. It's certified, and I loved it. It was like my favorite shirt. I had T-shirts, sweatshirts. I had sleeveless shirts done. Everything.
You still have those?
I have some. Rob hits me up. He's like, "Bro, this is copyright infringement." And I'm like, "What? Way to be a fucking buzzkill, man."
You would not have said that because it's a trademark. But
Whatever. But either way, they were like some of my favorite shirts. But I wear this stuff out everywhere, and it always starts a conversation because our biggest thing we've done was we did the scoreboard for Pop Warner and AYF, and it says from the Stanton family and Certified Auto Mall. So now whenever I'm there and I have it on, somebody always comes up and says thank you or whatever. But you know how many people wind up, like you said, it's a conversation starter, like, oh, I got to come over and see you. My wife needs brakes, or my kid's turning 17, I need a car. You've built that familiarity, even though you might not know that person. They've seen your name enough to assume that you're a good person. Now, in your case, you are a good person, so their assumption is correct, and hopefully they have a good legal case for you to represent. For me, they assume they know my family. They see my name everywhere, or they hear Petey's name everywhere. I mean, this guy doesn't have to do a fucking thing. It's crazy. But you've made them feel like part of your family or their friend. I'm wrong. You don't have to do anything. Everybody talks about you.
You just shut it all down. The money will just keep rolling in for eternity, right?
No, but everybody knows him. Everybody, and I mean, you go on Facebook. Somebody's looking for a mortgage. Pete Riley.
I venture to say it's harder for him because like my thing is attached to my name, right? Like his thing is attached to a company name.
Yeah.
And it's not a level 1 industry. It's a level 2 industry. People want a house first and then they need a mortgage. People have a problem first and then they need a refi.
Yeah.
People see, and so it's a second page of the priority book thing where like he has to get. That's why his web content is so stellar, because his web content attaches his industry to his name and his face.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think that's how. I think it's probably like I don't like to wear I wear my shirt once in a while. I don't like to have my own name on myself. I think that's a little weird. I try to get other people to wear them instead.
I don't have any
they're on the back
Morello
of all
Law
the little-
apparel.
That's why they're in the back of all the
swap
little
for a
leagues.
Run DMC shirt.
I got you.
I didn't give you t-shirts.
Maybe gave them to Zach or Michael or Dave, but I got nothing.
I'll put anything on Zach.
I got nothing.
Everything looks good.
Give
on
me the
Zach.
best walk.
He's like a male model. He really is.
Like Ryan Gosling wearing my shirt.
Right? Get him decked out, dude. You definitely should.
I would love some Morello Law gear, but and I'd proudly wear it. But like Petey, I agree. It's a little more difficult for him to manage the situation. But he walks in a room, and it might not say Pete Riley Mortgage on the building or on the wall, like in a wrestling room, but Pete Riley's on the mat, and everybody knows the name. So like, I think this guy could sell eggs. People are going to show up.
I mean,
Brand
the prices
recognition,
the way
bro.
They are, you know, these days. If I could find a nice little niche with the eggs, that'd be nice.
chickens.
I'd be slinging them.
Bro, my
There's
kids-
actually a place up the street you could just pay cash on the side of the road, like right
JJ
by
Matchnick's house, you could do it.
Oh, really? They have that set up
on
too?
Sundays. But my kids drink milk, lactate, because they have a lactose allergy.
Right.
This milk is $7 a fucking gallon. It's insane how much shit costs these days. I'm about to get a cow and figure
you
it
go.
out.
Go
but
for it.
I don't know. It's wild.
You just said they drink lactate. How you gonna-
I don't know. Isn't it like they process out the thing? It's not real milk. I assumed it was real milk.
Oh,
We should move to another topic. We
It's
know.
gotta
yeah, we
come
got
from-
nothing on
start
this.
making
dude.
things
We got
up.
nothing on this.
All right.
yeah.
Well, people's talking about the
kids
cost of
drink whole
eggs. Well,
Yeah.
my
I
kids
don't
are
know.
weird, man.
I don't even know what's good and what's not good anymore. The food pyramid, like you walk in the shop, right?
Well, one day-
5% cancer.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
One day food is good, the next day it's the worst thing for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't know what to eat. I have
Then
no
I saw
idea.
something that said like if you have diabetes, they say that you're supposed to eat certain foods and everything on that food like causes diabetes. So I don't even know who to trust anymore.
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason. They're all guessing.
Yeah. They're all guessing.
They are.
And they're all jacked. Like how all these people are jacked on all these different diets, and it's like. It's
Well, yeah,
really
'cause they're
hard
all
to
on
know.
t-
I can't
Test
even
or
trust
something.
them either because like Liver King ruined all that for me. Like he was saying he was natty.
What did they say? He was spending $11,000 a month on steroids or something.
Shockingly,
Yeah.
natty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not natty. I
you
think
see the-
everybody knew he wasn't.
No.
but
Did you
then-
see the one when he was eating? Oh man, he was eating the
Liver balls
testicles
or
in the milk, and he poured milk on testicles.
Yeah, I saw it.
dude.
He's gross.
Yeah, Liver King kind of ruined the trustworthiness for everybody. But then he just got on video. He said he went like, I don't know, a month without steroids, and now he like made a whole list of everything he's back on. He's
Yeah.
Liver King's back on.
Well, what did you think? You were going to maintain that
He said he
physique?
dropped like 20 pounds, and
And
he
he
was just
probably
done with it.
miserable,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's like, forget this liver.
Probably felt terrible.
Yeah.
Couldn't eat the fucking testicles anymore. You know, just couldn't power through.
But he's big on like grounding too. Like we were talking about grounding. Like he'll walk around barefoot.
Yeah, he does
I'm
a
down
lot
to
of
do
that
some
stuff.
grounding, but like now, I mean, today's nice, but like, is wintertime grounding still good for your body, or like, are you more susceptible to getting sick now? Like, are you becoming one with the earth, or do you have pneumonia?
Yeah.
I'm
That's-
not,
I mean,
that's
it's
not
a
a risk
good-
I'm looking to take right now.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
But what's good today is always bad tomorrow. So, you know, steak is good today, steak is bad tomorrow. There was a period they told you don't eat eggs ever.
Yeah, steak.
I don't like having soggy feet in the winter.
Yeah, no, me neither.
I'm not big on the whole
Me neither.
grounding idea. I want to put shoes on.
Fuzzy Crocs.
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
If I did
You
notice
do
the
it?
Crocs
You
right
do the
away.
Crocs?
Oh, it's a South Jersey thing.
I haven't conformed yet to
You're not wearing
Crocs.
Crocs?
I have no Crocs.
You put, I'm
My
telling
kids
you,
have Crocs.
I'm telling you right now, if you get a pair of lined Crocs and put
Oh, they
on,
are lined.
and put on but with socks, you gotta wear socks with your fuzzy Croc. It will alter the course of your life.
My kids wear Crocs.
Forever.
My wife maybe wears
the
them.
non-lined ones they're not for us.
They don't seem comfy.
They're sweaty and sticky.
No, my
Yeah.
kids
Lined
love them.
Crocs
They don't
with
have
a
any
Crocs.
lined
You got
Crocs.
Crocs? No.
Well, you guys are like.
Max, you want to come tell us about your Crocs?
Oh yeah,
yes.
definitely.
Also,
you talk about
Uggs.
sweaty feet.
I'm not
bro.
wearing Uggs,
Woof.
but again, everything's different when you put a pair of socks on. I'm not wearing Uggs.
Yeah.
I'm not going. I haven't. You're
not going that far?
I haven't dove that.
Nah,
far
soon
in.
enough though. If you're wearing Crocs, Uggs is just a step away.
Well, they do have those slip-ins, which are not high.
Yeah, those are kind of like slippers.
look-
You can kind of get away with that. Johnny Post has those, and he's a sweaty feet
got-
guy.
You're already there, bro. You might as well order the Uggs.
Maybe because I do now I haven't worn them yet, but I got a pair of the fuzzy Hey Dudes.
Oh, wow.
Winter Hey
People
Dudes,
love those though.
which I'll let you guys know.
Feeling those? But Rich
Sorry,
Gilner's a
guys,
big
I have
Croc
my
guy.
kid over
He's been
here
rocking
playing.
Crocs for a while. He had like the camo ones, Gilner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was rocking the
can't
Crocs
do
for
it.
a while.
He's he's a Weartown boy.
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
of the 609.
Yeah, those guys down there, they could literally start their own trend.
Well,
Like
so-
if any other high school kids in the early 2000s were wearing Uggs, they would get ripped on. Like the Southern kids were just like, oh, all right, they're tough, so I'm not
Yeah.
gonna make fun of them.
So like, you moved in, you got Crocs.
No, it's not. That's not the track. The track is like people told you they were comfortable and they happened to live down there. And
They
And
just-
everyone on his block was wearing it. He was the only one. He had like the generic dad Nikes on.
keeping up with the Jones.
Like, he had the ones that
Like,
our dad's
with
generation
the real
wore.
high arch, and I had hemmed jeans.
Yeah, bro.
And I was just
Levi's. They're like, yo, get this
Look at this
732
guy.
out of here.
T-shirt tucked in.
Yeah. So then the very next day he shows up with Crocs, a NASCAR shirt on. and
They're like,
maybe
"What's
a
up,
hat."
bro?
They're like, oh, you are with one of us.
There's definitely more brown in the wardrobe than there previously was.
Oh, I'm sure.
Definitely.
I'm sure,
You
man.
now own a Carhartt hat
Oh, wow.
because
that's
I'm
big time.
because I'm blue collar. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a real
Yeah.
real working man over here.
Yeah, let me see the home row fingers there from the basement. But I was going to ask, like, how is it working predominantly from home? Like, in the summer is probably different than during the school year. How about, oh, you guys were just away. But, like, you ever have any moments where you're like, I got to get the fuck out of here?
Yeah, I
Like,
have those moments
yeah,
all the time.
Yeah, like, I'm going to go work from the car.
I have those moments in my
You go
office.
work from the
That's
parking
not at
lot.
home.
somewhere.
It's better now that the kids are a little older. It
Yeah,
was
I'm sure.
harder 3 years ago. you
Yeah,
know?
because that's been really tough for me.
Yeah,
That's-
it's they've respect the boundaries more than they did.
Yeah.
But there's definitely moments from a business standpoint, it hasn't hurt at all. Most people don't require show up.
Right.
The older clients do. They still
Right.
want to come in with a shopping bag full of papers
Yep.
and sit in front of you while you
Yeah,
review
like
them.
you couldn't
right?
have scanned that?
Exactly.
Texted me?
Everybody else really likes that I'm somewhat automated. I
Yeah.
can take online payments,
Cool.
Zelle, Venmo, DocuSign, all that. Like
Yeah.
they, just like in real estate, people appreciate that they don't have to sign papers by hand anymore.
Oh, it saves so much time for me.
Yeah, and the office is nice. I got a
You're
variance.
high-tech.
I got a yes. I know how to use the systems, and I needed that because the place that I was working at had good systems, so I needed it to feel seamless. I got a variance to put a sign up in front of the house now. The office,
Solid.
the office is very nice. The sign is very nice. Everything is fine. Sometimes you want to rip your hair out. Like this week is terrible.
This week
right?
is rough for
because
everybody.
they are not like this. Christmas break just takes them out of cycle,
Mm-hmm.
where like all of a sudden they were on routine, right? They were on schedule, and then all of a sudden you just shut them down
Yep.
and give them cookies.
Yeah.
and it can be a nightmare. That's
Yeah.
why nobody works this week.
It really is like a perfect storm to like set the kid up to go wild. Like their structure's gone, their bedtime's gone, their diet is whack.
Yeah.
You know, they're eating cookies for breakfast, whatever it may be. They've been like waiting for this week for so long, and it was funny. It's funny that we're even talking about this because Seidenberg put up a video, and I thought it was going to be educational, and he's like, "Hey, any parents that are going to be a little bit stressed out
I
this
saw
week,
it.
I want to just let you know, like I've already had a few breakdowns today
Yeah.
already." And I was like, I watched it to the end, and I was like, "Damn, I just hope he was going to give us something out of that." Like,
I'm feeling
I
like
could
I'm
use
gonna
some
have a
advice
breakdown
right here.
now. I hear this kid talking into his fake microphone, throwing chess pieces.
You got anything to add, Max?
You want? Come here. Come here, bud. I want you to say hi. No? All right. Maybe at the end he'll come over and say hi, but I got my 6-year-old with me hanging out. He's my favorite employee at Certified, so he comes every chance he gets.
Kid has gotten so
So
mature.
let me
dude.
ask you a question because I deal with this a lot. Are you feeling like he's not behaving right now? Because
No, it's just I feel that he might be distracting you guys. I actually think he's being awesome for a 6-year-old.
That's-
I think he's doing awesome.
that's why I asked, because like when my kids are around, I have like that back sweat, like they're definitely embarrassing me or they're definitely doing something they're not supposed to be doing. And then I'll ask somebody and they're like, no, he's fine. And I'm here telling you, I don't even notice
No,
that he's
I
here.
think
Yeah.
he's doing a great job. I think he's a really well-behaved 6-year-old right now, laying on the couch doing his thing. But I feel like he might be bothering you guys or, the Evs of the world that are super artistic and wouldn't want anything to affect his work.
The cheeseburgers were so much more distracting.
Yeah.
The cheeseburger is still
boy is
distracting.
good.
I'm not going to lie. Max, you want a cheeseburger? No, you're good. You're just eating your arm. Cool, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who
is that, by the way?
That's Ian.
Why did we get the cheeseburgers?
Anybody else have anything to add? It's been about an hour.
I think it's been a great episode.
I think so,
and
too,
I would
man.
really love to get Rob back on here because I
Yeah.
feel like this conversation could go for hours.
Absolutely.
I had a really great time. Thank you very much for having me on.
He's currently hiding from his family at the moment, so he's got another 3 hours. He's gonna tell his wife the podcast went a little bit late.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's gonna
we didn't
drive
start till
45.
Like 3.
Come here, bud.
He's choosing Route 9 just to get home a
This
little
better
bit
not
later.
be up in the next half hour. I'll be really, you're blowing
No,
my spot.
we do have to get the audition tape on.
Okay.
So everybody could see what Rob's working with.
It's just what
and
it
you'll
took.
understand.
No, it's what it took. You guys were ignoring all my passive attempts to get on the show, and I had to be more aggressive. You had all these handsome dudes, Seidenberg and
Seidy's the
Robbins
man.
and Johnny Windshields.
Dude, Seidi, like he was a real he was like more chippy than you were, and he was telling us like how aggressive he used to be, and for him to be able to really just like own that stuff and be like, yeah, I'm a chippy SOB,
Yeah.
and now he's like way different and like way calm. He tries to stay calm.
Do you watch his stuff?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
actually
He's got
pretty
bangers,
good.
dude.
He's the reason me and Max meditate, and I got Rosie to meditate after a cheerleading meltdown one time.
Nice.
Right? You like meditating? Yeah.
What do? You go like
What's your mantra, man?
What do? You breathe in your nose, out your mouth, right? And just try to find your center and calm.
take some deep breaths.
Did you want to say hi to everybody? You're gonna be a YouTube star now.
He already is.
Well, he's famous on
famous,
TikTok,
yeah.
right?
How
What do you
about
do
the
on
cold
TikTok?
plunge? You trying to get down in the cold plunge?
You want to do a cold plunge with Daddy?
Not yet.
Soon.
No, we'll wait till you're a little older.
All right. I'll see you later. All right, go sit down. Figured I'd put him on for a minute. Made his day right now.
He seems like he was having way more fun on the iPad than he just was sitting on your lap.
He gets shy, man.
Like, who's this TJ Maxx Santa think he is over here? Like, Santa already bounced.
Why do you always have
I'm
to call
sorry.
me fat, bro?
No, it's not. It was the beard. It was the
Yeah,
beard.
no,
You're
it's
not-
always the
not
beard,
fat.
not the fat.
Now you've derailed it.
Yeah, sorry.
You did it.
All good. Way to go, Pete. You killed the mood. Tune in next week.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll be back.
It's not the weight. It's the
Why did you
beard.
do that? What did